Good for you.
The one with Martin actually had a video of the hospital in the middle. They cut it right in. Marty said, well, we could start with the video.
She doesn't come to
Well, welcome. We had a fellow on, Martin Richmond, who talked about the foundation. And as many accolades as I threw at him, he kept coming back saying he couldn't do it without the community and all the volunteers. There's another group inside of the foundation that very few people have ever heard of, but who play such a critical role. Like we talked about the foundation raising money to allow us to do the things we need to do for the community. One or two people can't do it all. Tonight we're going to take a look at a different group, a group called corporators. Basically, volunteers that really do help us raise the money to do the things we want to. Let's start with an introduction.
Certainly. My name is Bob DeVita. I'm a lifelong resident of Milford, born and raised right behind the town hall. I was educated in Milford schools. At this point in my life, I have retired from one career, which was Verizon as a director of engineering, and currently own and operate a telecommunications consulting business, doing many of the same things I did in my other career. I am a member of the Milford Finance Committee.
So you still have your full-time job as FinCom member.
Well, I was getting to that. I am a town meeting member, in addition to sitting on the Finance Committee. And other than that, I find time to do a little golfing and gardening in the summer. And that doesn't, with all those things into the pot, there isn't much time to do anything else, other than volunteer for the hospital.
I was going to say, yeah, the FinCom doesn't keep you busy enough. You have to.
This time of the year, we're very busy, as you all know. But I enjoy it. I enjoy every minute of it. I do.
And you've been on the FinCom. I don't know if you're not the longest sitting member.
I'm not the senior senator.
I was gonna say, I think Chucky's got us all by a while.
Yeah.
But you're awful close.
Probably 27, 28 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Chairman for 4 years, and vice chairman for a number of years, executive committee. At some point, I think it's time to bring some new blood in and some fresh ideas, but we're not quite at that juncture yet.
I was going to say, we already brought Chris in and Willie. We brought some new blood in.
A little at a time.
It's nice to have some of the old memory still there.
You need the mix. You definitely need the mix. Yeah.
Miss Laura.
Yes. I'm Laura Mann. I'm an attorney in town, as you know. I have a practice in Milford. I was not born and raised in Milford. I've married somebody who was born and raised in Milford.
I was going to say,
so
you're awful
there.
close.
I was actually born and raised outside of Philadelphia. I came up for college and continued on. And I've enjoyed serving on various committees, both municipal in the town. I was on the zoning board for 18 years. I was chairman of the Industrial Development Commission. I've done a lot of different municipal positions, and now I've been more involved with nonprofits. I sit on the board at New Hope, a domestic violence organization. I've been involved with the Holliston Temple Beth Torah. I was president last year of that. So I've been on various things, but one of the recent activities has been my involvement with the hospital. And I think that we are blessed to have a fantastic local community hospital here. And I think that we as a community need to support it as much as each of us can in our own way. And that was sort of how I got involved with the hospital and as a corporator. And I think Bob and I got together and said, we need to let people know about what corporators do. And I think that's where we're here.
Now, you've been in Milford quite a long time, though. You say you're from Philly, but How many years you been in Milford?
28 years.
I was going to say.
But still, when I've been appointed to various boards, it's been, well, she's not a Milfordian.
I know, it's.
So it's, but I'm almost there because because my husband Mark was born and raised here.
yeah.
But I actually, I've delivered both my children at Milford Hospital at a time many years ago, 23, 24 years ago, when people said, "You're not delivering at Milford, are you?" And I said yes, and it was a great experience, and the hospital has grown and been so much more successful since then. But I think it's a great asset.
Well, we've been trying to figure out for many, many decades what the definition of a Milfordian is. And I told my daughter Alexis, now that she bought her house up by the S-curve on Highland Street,
Oh, yeah.
that
yeah.
I think you qualify now because you'll be fourth generation Milford and you live within 2 miles of your mother. So I think she finally
She's qualified.
qualifies.
Yes, yes.
We hear this word corporator. What is a corporator and why does it exist?
You want to take a stab?
Yeah. One of the things you talked about was a subsection of the foundation board at Milford Hospital. And, well, 5 years ago now, I was approached and asked if I would like to become a corporator at Milford Hospital. And I said, well, yeah, I think so. What do I have to do? And they said, well, essentially, you're a goodwill ambassador. You're there, you serve voluntarily. The position, there is no compensation in the position. You're required to do certain things throughout the year, none of which are really mandatory, but we do like our corporations to participate in certain type of events. But in a nutshell, a corporator is one, the term is used, is a goodwill ambassador. They are kind of a person on the street every day that could espouse the virtues and the good things that the hospital does. And in addition to that, I think a corporator could also be one to disperse information. For example, we have a rather large $25 million expansion, $50 million, I'm sorry, $52 million expansion currently underway at the hospital. And a lot of people asking, what's it all about? What are you doing up there? What's it going to do to the traffic? Are you adding? The big question is the emergency room. Are we going to get a new emergency room? Well, yes, we are. So all of those things, and that's kind of a long answer, but I'm sure I left something out, Laura, to which you can fill in the blanks.
No, I think the idea of the corporators is to sort of branch out in more of a grassroots way to reach all the communities. Milford is not just Milford Hospital, it's not just Milford. Milford Regional Center is not just Milford.
Good point.
It goes all the way to Northbridge and Whitensville and Franklin and Hopkinton.
Great point.
And it's very difficult sometimes for the people who live and work at the hospital to really get the information out in the little branches. So I view the corporators in a way as sort of branches going out into the different communities where the hospital is serving in order to get that input and find out what are the needs. How can we better, as a community hospital, meet the needs of the entire area? And I think that's what the corporators do. Right now, I think there's about 240?
240 or so,
240.
yes, yeah.
And each year, there are new ones nominated. Some retire. I mean, there's some movement. But the idea is that we want to get more people aware of what's happening. And I think a lot of us, when you're in that stage of your life where you're working, you're raising your kids, you're just sort of doing what you can to just get by, you don't appreciate it until you're at the ER with your kid with a broken arm or whatever. And then we're really lucky to have that. And I think the corporators are the people out there that can really get the information out there and get input back to the hospital.
And I think one key point that Laura made is that corporators are not from Milford. Some are, but our goal is to have a cross-section of corporators from all the communities that the hospital serves. And I think that's one point that people might not be aware of. Laura and I co-chair a subcommittee called the Corporators Council. And we have a number of goals and objectives that we set forth, having looked at the corporator program, what can be done to enhance the program. And with the blessing of the foundation board, we have begun to put together this corporator council to, I would say, improve the process, make it a little more structured, put some documentation on it, but the biggest goal, as I see it, is not only to enhance the program, but to make sure that we have a good cross-section of volunteers from all the communities that we serve. Very important point that you made.
And I think that the other part that goes hand in hand that we're trying to improve is communication. Because you can have the best facility, you can have the best employees, you can have the best programs, but if people don't know about it, it's useless. So I think that part of what we're trying to do is improve the communication to the corporators, from the corporators back to the hospital, back to the management, because they're the eyes and ears out there in the huge area that we're trying to serve. And they're critical. I mean, the corporators are critical to making the hospital successful.
Yeah, they're on the street every day. And they're in
It's quite
coffee
an army,
shops or in the restaurants.
240.
I mean, some are more active than others. Some are actually trustees and on the foundation board in addition. Some were active 20 years ago and just want to continue. We really view the corporators as we try to have an idea what touching is happening between the corporators and the hospital. It could be a donation to the expansion now occurring. It could be,
Volunteering at
volunteering. It could be attending Melange
Yeah.
in the fall. It could be any one of many different things, and any of those are connecting them to the hospital, and that's what we're
And
trying
people are
to
coming up with new ideas all the time, how we can execute the role of a corporator. So it isn't one set of standards. We're trying to be flexible, and any contribution that these corporators or goodwill ambassadors can perform, all the more.
And we've seen it even, when you look at some of the United Nations goodwill ambassadors. They have appointed people to go out in the world and just spread the word about a program. Isn't that essentially what a corporator, if you think the minimum that you would ask of a corporator is, if you live in Bellingham, Franklin, around, bring the word out about the medical center to your community and your friends.
And some of it is also the information that the corporators are bringing back to the hospital. In the sense, I remember last year we had a corporator orientation, and some of the corporators have been in this community for many, many years. And I'll never forget, a couple from Mendon. They just gave such a passionate explanation of what the hospital meant to them. No clue of that experience had occurred. The management wouldn't have known that they had such a positive experience, but that's the information, and it helps. A lot of the employees at the hospital, they're working, night shifts. They're working. It's a tough, some of the nurses, some of the people there. It's not the easiest job in the world. In the ER, dealing with all of the issues, drug overdoses, all sorts of issues that you need to be dealing with and have a positive attitude. And I think it's helpful for the employees to hear those stories and to hear what the hospital means to the community, because I think that needs to be out there more.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I try to do is each time we have a function, a breakfast or a business after hours, is I try to bring at least one friend, someone different, so that they can see. And every time I've brought someone, either from a local corporation or a member of the clergy or just someone on the block, they are amazed at what's going on. They really are surprised. And they said, Bob, thank you so much. I enjoyed this immensely. So that's what I try to do, expand it a little bit. Bring a friend.
Well, you got me hooked when you and Uncle Phil said you ought to come. And I was born in, back then, the little red building we used to call the Milford Hospital.
Yeah.
My home.
You're going back a few years, Al.
Oh, God. When you think about it, my home, which is, Korea Circle, is right against.
Yeah.
What was the hospital property, now the Portuguese Club property.
Yeah.
So, we went way back, but it was funny. I never thought to go and say, how do I help?
Well, what's interesting is one of the first things when I became involved, I was shocked to learn is that Milford Regional Medical Center is a nonprofit. And I don't think that message really gets out there. They view it as, we have so many employees and we have so much land and we're expanding. It's a nonprofit. Its sole purpose is to help the community.
Right.
And I think that for those of us in the community, like you, like Bob, that we've been blessed to be successful in our businesses and in our lives. We want to give back, and the hospital is a great way to give back. It's a nonprofit. It needs us. And that's where I think a lot of the corporators come in. But I think that message, a lot of people, because there are for-profit medical centers out there. And I think the fact that we still have a nonprofit is really it's amazing, and it's amazing that it's been successful in our community, and we need to support it.
So now if somebody said, what role besides goodwill do you really think, what effect do the corporators have? Could you come up with anything tangible?
Well, I mean, goodwill goes a long way. Laura is the attorney in the crowd here. You know better than probably Al and I. You sell a business, there's a price tag attached to goodwill with the business.
Absolutely.
In many cases, it could be more than the cost of the assets. But to your question, I think the opportunities are limitless, Al. For me, on a personal level, I get a lot of, well, it's a feel-good feeling when I volunteer, both for the hospital and for the town. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. I feel good giving back. I look back at my childhood, and I see, particularly in sports and Little League and football, when I look back at the coaches and I look at the time that they gave and sacrificed for our benefit as kids, and I say to myself, gee, why can't I do something like that? As an aside, I volunteer down at the Milford Senior Center. It gives me a lot of joy to go down there in their home and provide them with meals and see the smiles on their faces. And it's just happiness. It feels good. So I think as a corporator, you will not only learn and give back to your community, but I think you'll feel better at the end of the day. You will enjoy it. As you said, you got hooked, no regrets.
None. And realistically, you talk to Martin, and you look back 5 years ago when the whole plan started to come together for the emergency department. So I can't call it an emergency room. It's more than that. But $54 million. Yeah. And, the hospital, the medical center, could afford 25 to 30 million of it. So all of a sudden you're looking at where are we going to raise $20 to $25 million out of the community. And I got to believe, when we talk about that intangible goodwill, without the army of corporators out there, beating the bushes, saying good things, he's going to end up raising $26-ish million. We wouldn't be able to afford the center we're going to get.
Just think if you were a corporation and you had to do a $50 million expansion, and you got 50% of it through volunteer contributions.
Right.
Doesn't happen.
Right. And
doesn't happen.
The other thing that's amazing about the whole expansion and the support is not just the corporators, it's the employees. I mean, to raise $1 million out of employees, janitors, nurses, just a variety of people. I just think that it speaks volumes of what that facility means to a lot of people. But you're right, Al. We could not have viewed, raising that kind, $25 million without those corporators, without people out there.
But you hit it, Laura, because I think the participation rate now is 34%. And when they break it up, it's almost $1 million out of the non-doctor employees. Right. 2.6 million from the physicians themselves. But you start looking, as you say, all these jobs that don't pay a gazillion dollars a year. Somehow, these people have stitched together $1 million.
And they must see something that makes them want to contribute. Right. They must be seeing something that says, this is worthwhile, and this is something I want to be a part of.
Right.
Well, go ahead.
No, I just was going to go back to your other point. I just wanted to also note that the corporators also serve on a lot of committees at the hospital. And there's a number of committees that serve under the foundation office and a number of committees who serve under the trustee, under the board. And those committees, finance, audit, these are important committees of the hospital. And so if you have a corporator that might be a CPA, we might say, hey, would you mind serving on this committee? So the hospital is also getting a lot of advice and help through the corporators. So it's not only attending the events and supporting it and being that ambassador, but I think it's also being there to help on a day-to-day.
Yeah, there were certain little pieces of expertise residing out there that Martin does a great job of
Yeah.
plucking the person or
Right.
persons that we need to,
Yeah,
to fill that void.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It
as
al-
it should be.
It also seems like an intro. I mean, when you first came to me, you said, this is a step that you can get a good view of what's at the medical center, and you can decide how involved or how not involved,
That is
or
true.
the degree of involvement,
Right.
let's
That is
say.
true. That is true.
And it also, you know, one of the first things I did at the hospital was attend a business breakfast. I must have been on some list, as we all are. And, you know, they do the business breakfasts to get out in the community and to show the community what's going on there. And I'll never forget, they gave us a tour of the lab area where all the blood is like, I was amazed. And I am the most, you know, unmedical person there is. I mean, I can't even, you know, look at blood. But just to see a facility, just to understand how it works, because it is part of your community. It's part of, you know, what is going on in the area, and to educate. So I think part of what they do a good job at is educating. And you know what? That brought me in. So that brought me in thinking, hey, what, you know, this is a pretty neat place. And so it does, intellectually, it shows you what's going on, things that you wouldn't normally see. I mean, I know that in the spring, there's going to be some there's going to be, at the business breakfast, they'll have an opportunity to do a hard hat tour. I mean, just opportunities like that. So the corporators, you know, they get a lot out of it also, just
I
to
would
be able
agree.
to see.
I would agree. For me, it's exciting. It's education. You learn and you see different
Yeah.
things that you probably never would have seen
Right.
in your life otherwise. And the people that I've been introduced to, great people, phenomenal people, professionals, but courteous and willing to share information and help you along. I mean, I love every aspect of it. I really do. It's true. I enjoy it immensely. And to your point, you can put in as much time as you want if you have the time, or if you don't, you can still make a contribution which is meaningful. So it's such a great program. And Laura and I have embarked upon this Corporators Council to hopefully, our goal, and I'm sure we will succeed because we are two success-driven people, to make it happen. So stay tuned. One of I think our premier objectives, on our deliverables, for want of a better term, is a newsletter. And that was probably your idea, but it doesn't.
We work collaboratively.
We
Come on.
collaboratively. That goes out right now. It's quarterly, and we're still learning as we go. And the whole purpose of that newsletter, again, is to enhance the corporator experience, disseminate information, get people's ideas and feedback, and learn, and just make it enhance the opportunity. So that is
But,
something
you know,
that
something
we've
like the newsletter. You know, you think about, we've put out 2 of them.
Yes.
It wasn't just what's going on at the hospital. It really did go further, because they profiled
People.
2 people that are corporators. Hello, both of you got profiled. But you also profiled first Jeff Hopkins, the head of the emergency department. If I keep calling it the ER, they growl at me, because it's more than just the emergency room.
You can handle it, Al.
Yeah, I know. And I keep sitting there saying, when I'm down there, I'm not thinking about anything but, why am I in this room?
And when am I next?
Yeah, exactly. But then Mike Newstein, you know, head of
The
infectious
infectious disease, yeah.
diseases. You know, and it was funny because when the Ebola scare hit, both Jeff and Mike had come on the show
Oh, really?
to talk about, you know, why we should feel comfortable that everything that could be done was being
Is
done.
being done, yeah.
That week we had the Ebola scare here in Milford, which luckily turned out not to be an issue. But I got more emails that week about, how did you plan their show and to have the Ebola? I said, oh yeah, we brought in a patient that could be exposed to Ebola just to go from 6 to 8 people to get our rating.
Right, right.
But it was nice in the newsletter to learn a little bit about some of the key people.
And that's a good point, because one of the things Laura and I agreed on was that, yes, we want to talk about the medical staff, the nurses, the specialists, the doctors, but we also want to talk about the people that volunteer every day. There are hundreds of volunteers that put in thousands of hours a week. There are people who shovel the snow so that people can come in and get to the hospital that we want to talk about. So it isn't just the professional levels. We want to cut across the whole cross-section of the workforce there.
And the other thing that the newsletter we're trying to do is also highlight the corporators, because I think the corporators don't know the other corporators. And in the newsletter this week, we had Betsy Brewer, Southwick Wild Animal Farm, and it's great photo.
Yeah,
With the Mankey?
Yeah.
But you know, here that's somebody in Mendon who's supportive of the hospital. She's actually on the corporate council with us. She brings different ideas.
That's right.
I think she should bring one of those little lions or the little tigers
You
so we can
think so?
play with it.
Okay.
It'd be fun to play with it before they get too big.
Yeah. She does a great job, though. Betsy does a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah.
But again, somebody who says, I'd like to get involved. I don't have to be a lifelong Milfordian. You know, realistically, one of the things we've always heard is if your child doesn't play soccer and you move to the town, it's going to take you forever to learn to meet people. You know, if they play soccer, you meet them on the sidelines no matter what of the pitch.
Yeah.
But, you know, in my mind, if I was a young professional or, you know, just a new resident of Milford, here's a great way to say, let me come down and learn what's available in Milford as far as medical services, because you do learn a lot.
You do.
And how involved can I be? Do I want to be?
Right.
I think in addition to the Corporator Council, I think there are also, and this is maybe something we could highlight in one of our newsletters, there is a whole series of volunteer organizations within the hospital. So one could get involved without necessarily being a corporator. And again, Al, I know you didn't intend it to be this way, but you talk about Milford. We need corporators from every town.
Sure.
We need them from every town because we provide services in many towns. And history has shown that the majority of the corporators have been from Milford. And that's one thing we're trying to work around, is to get more people from the surrounding towns involved.
And the different activities, I mean, one of the groups, and I wish I knew the exact name, it's a group of people that go and sit with people who are either in hospice or, you know, are in the later stages of their lives, and to give support to them, to help to let the families that are with them 24/7 to go take a break. There's a whole group at the
Bedside
hospital.
companions.
Yes.
Is that what it's called? I wasn't
Marjorie
sure.
Gonzalez.
And that is a great...
couple people came on the show to talk about what they do. And I found it amazing because you talk about an emotional drain.
Yeah.
To be there at the last days, weeks.
And they stay
But
with
some-
those people 24/7.
But some people, that to them is the connection. I guess what we try to do is you try to take every person, a corporator or whoever is in the community, and find a connection. So what is their connection? My connection might be more, you know, legal, or I'm interested in more, you know, legal issues because that's my interest. But other people have other interests, and I think the hospital has a lot of opportunities. And I think if they just contact Martin or somebody at the foundation office, they can be plugged in, and there are so many different ways to be helping.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, you bring up a great one, because the bedside companion, I don't need to have any special skill.
Nope.
Right.
What I need to do is be a person who cares.
Right.
And boy, they got to have incredible,
Yeah.
the fortitude of knowing that I'm sitting with you.
And you do it time and time again.
Yeah.
But think about the value to the family.
Oh, absolutely.
When it is the last few days before the big bus ride north, let's hope it's north. If they hand me suntan lotion, I'm not going to be a happy person. Hand me a beach towel and suntan lotion. I think I got the wrong bus schedule.
Not going north.
I'm not going north. But you know, you think about it, you don't want to leave your mother, your father,
Right, alone.
your partner alone. But how wonderful it is to be able to take 2 or 3 hours or a few hours.
And know that
Somebody's there.
That's right.
Right. Exactly.
And if things seem to be going one way, pick up the phone and they can
Come right away.
There's somebody there by their bedside 24/7.
You know, and there's something that, wow, how valuable.
Yeah.
Without needing any special skills
Exactly.
or you don't have to be a
Right.
lawyer. I mean,
Right.
I know one of the programs that I had talked to some folks at the hospital, only because my brother had volunteered a number of times, and they I'm not sure exactly why they stopped the program, but he would go into the children's ward and read books to the children. And the kids loved it. And I think it's because we don't have a lot of children's in
Right,
the children's
a lot
ward
of
that they
pediatrics,
kind of
right.
slowed down a little. But it might be something that we want to start up again. So somebody might be thrilled to go in there and read a book to a few kids
Right.
one time
I
or
mean,
another.
my
Something
daughter,
like that,
many years ago, she's now 22, she was 13, she was doing a bat mitzvah project. A project through the temple that you need to do a project, or you choose to do a project to give back. She chose to get donations of books for the children's department. And before I had any involvement with the hospital, she made a big presentation of 1,000 books. And she had written to different
1,000
publishers.
books?
And different publishers, and got donations from publishers, got donations from people, all new books.
I bet she
And,
got-
you know, coloring and
Yeah.
just all sorts of things.
Anything.
But that's something where here's a child in the community who came up with that idea. She said, well, why don't I do something for the hospital?
Wonderful.
Here, I had no involvement with the hospital, so I think that everybody out in the hospital, they see a hospital, so even kids can be involved and say, hey, what can I do? And I'm at the hospital for meetings various times, and I see high schoolers going around and different volunteer.
Yeah.
So I think the hospital does a good job integrating people, anyone interested. If you're interested in anything, you know,
We can use you.
You can
We
try
can
to
use
use
you.
To
you.
Bobby's
Exactly.
point, I mean, if you think about it this year, we nominated as many non-Milfordians as Milfordians
For the corporation.
for the corporators
Yep.
group.
Right, right.
You know, especially
Because we are, we just did a new facility in Northbridge, Franklin,
Franklin, yep.
there's a lot, we're out there in the community.
Yeah, the Osterman Center was
Right.
not in Milford.
Correct.
Right, right.
Correct.
You know, so again, the medical center reach
Branching out.
It
is going
is.
further and
It is.
further out
Yep.
there.
It is.
Yeah.
But when you start looking at it, there is no minimum. It's not like I'm signing up for 5 years and I have to give 8.3 hours every week.
No,
You know, as a corporator,
Nothing like that.
yes, read the newsletters. Be informed. So, especially when you're sitting out in Franklin or Hopkinton or Bellingham or Medway, people just from distance, God, did I say that 2 whole miles away? You know, but just from the fact you're not in the center of the universe.
Yeah. You know,
I was at the 89 the other night, and I heard somebody talking to somebody else, what are they doing up at that? I saw
Really?
what are they doing? So I turned around and I explained. I mean, it's as simple as that. Because if you have the knowledge, you feel that you can share it.
Right.
And that's all we're trying to do, get the information. Because you know what, if you don't get the right information out, people are going to start thinking the wrong things. So we want to get the right information
Well,
out
Laura,
there.
but you mentioned it. It's a non-profit
Right,
organization. You know, so every dollar that this medical center makes gets plowed back in.
exactly.
And that's how, I mean, think about it.
I mean, I know that the hospital is very supportive down at the Milford Senior Center. They do probably 5 or 6 exercise classes and things of that nature, where they provide all the supervision, and the only thing the town of Milford provides is the space. And I'm sure they're doing that in other towns as well, but I'm just familiar with the senior center because it's in Milford. And of course, we haven't talked about it yet, but we also have, I hasten to use the word state-of-the-art, but I will because I'm not that knowledgeable on it, but we have a state-of-the-art cancer center right across the
Right,
street.
right.
And you talk to people that, I have not heard a negative thing about that cancer center, and they leave a patient care organization within there. I mean, to people that are under chemotherapy and those types of treatments do not have to travel into Boston and just come down the road to Milford. They have nothing
remember
but
10
wonderful, wonderful things to say about
10
it.
years ago, my mother went in for her normal checkup, and they called and they said she has intestinal cancer. You know, so right away you're in shock.
Of course. You think
know.
the worst.
She's 80 years old. You're scared to death,
And she's scared to death.
and she's scared to death, but somehow not going to Boston. You know, we talk about driving 2 miles. To her, it's the Heights. It's still part of the Heights. You know, the hospital is always part of the Heights. It'll
Right
always
around
be-
the corner.
Yeah, I just drive down 2 miles.
Yeah.
But there was something to be said, number one, for the fact that this is our hospital. Number two, you know, Mona Kadis, fantastic oncologist, but 10 years later, she's still serving my mother. And my mother, there's an absolute ease. I go see Dr. Mona.
Oh, is that right?
It just, it's,
Yeah.
whereas if you did go into Boston, I've got to believe.
You'd be 10 doctors later.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the same, we talk about last year, what did we see, 50,000 people in the ER, designed for 30,000.
Yeah, I thought it was a little more than that, but
The new
it's
one is
okay.
designed for over 60.
Yeah.
And God bless Jeff and his staff. When they talk, they have 21 spots. I love the word spot. I was in one of those spots, which was a bed in the hall.
Right. Yeah.
And they did everything they could to make the spot.
As comfortable as
But we are in the hall,
you are in the hall.
and when I think about, and again, it's just information. Until I was involved, I had no idea that one of the goals was to have single patient rooms
Correct.
with couches so that, let's face it, they'd have to blow me out with a howitzer if my daughter was hurt and staying overnight. But now we don't have to have that long battle. There will be a couch. We can stay there, and it's probably more important for the parents or for the son if it was my mother.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Good point. All good points, Al. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these things you're talking about, those are what we want our cooperators to do. We want our cooperators to spread the word. Here's what we're doing up there. Here's how the money is being spent. Here's what we hope to do. Because I would venture to say, obviously, the cooperative newsletter goes to the cooperators, but it doesn't go to every citizen in the town of Milford,
Right.
Hopedale, Mendon, Northbridge, Hopkinton. So we need some other means to talk to people face to face. And that is the role of a cooperator in one regard.
To lead them to, go on the website to get the information. They do. You mentioned some of the classes. They do yoga classes, any health, diabetes education. The hospital
Healthy living
really,
lunches and
yeah, they have a ton. And even for a corporator to just say, hey, you know what, check out Milford Regional. Get them on the website. That has a lot of information. So it's just any way to get that information out there. And the other thing I just wanted to point out that you sort of touched on was, the Cancer Center is an incredible asset. But what I think Milford has done well is realize it's a community hospital. We're serving the basic needs, but we're bringing in the experts when we need it. They have Milford Regional, and the management has done a great job with getting the affiliation. So we have the Children's Hospital coming in. So you're getting that Boston experienced doctor to come to Milford, because I think your point was well taken. Most of us are just you're more comfortable. You're going to heal faster if you're more comfortable. And if we can get that, if you can get that service, 2 miles down the road, why not do it?
Well, you think about it. If I'm going to drive into the Farber on Binney Street, I'm going to be in the car for an hour.
At least.
And your friends can't come to visit. Your family can't come visit. It's just it just stresses the whole point.
So when you think of treatment, it's got to be better. You're going to have some stress. I'm told there's an indication that is not favorable in any regard. I'm not going to say, great! You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
I feel great. I have cancer.
Yeah.
Aren't I lucky? No, but
To the degree that you can minimize that stress, it's
Right.
all good.
Exactly.
It's all positive. Yeah.
And as I say, when I think about the new building, there's a garden upstairs.
Yes.
So again, something as small as when they were looking at the mock rooms, one nurse walked out and said, "Did you see the size of those windows? How wonderful that window's going to be."
Really.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
You don't
Yeah,
realize if you're
yeah,
in
yeah.
bed, if you're, what do you look at?
Yeah.
What do you look
All
at?
the machines?
24/7, you're
Yeah.
sitting
Right.
there.
Right.
Right.
And if you can see what's going on.
And get some sunshine in there. And
I had no idea till I became a corporator, the information like the garden upstairs.
Yeah.
It's great if I can walk. Well, what happens if I'm in a hospital gurney? You can't wheel the gurney through the garden,
No.
but you can bring the garden to the gurney. I had no idea there's open areas where you can open the windows and feel the garden. I
correct.
mean, let's face it, it'd be better if you could walk.
Right.
But it's a heck of a lot better than what's there now.
It's a heck of a lot better than sitting there 24/7 in a room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and having the opportunity. I mean, I always joke when the hospital first opened, now I'm going way back, you got 2 cards.
Yeah, you weren't born when the hospital was open. Neither was I, for that matter.
No, not when Governor Draper was in
That's
03.
right,
No.
General Draper.
Yeah. I mean, you sit there and say, yeah, that's probably a little bit, no, not that anybody believes me. They think I was around when Paul Revere was there, but that's okay.
No, I just know.
But I remember when you wanted to visit somebody, they gave you
That's right.
one of 2 cards. You went in the front door. There was only one legal door.
Yeah.
And there
So
were
if-
certain hours.
It was
There were
certain hours. And if the 2 of you took the cards, I show up,
Forget about it.
till somebody brings the card down, I can't go up. Of course, the hospital is in the Heights. So there was always a Portuguese
way around.
grandmother that left the door ajar in the back. And all the Portuguese grandmothers flooded in. And then the floor nurse or the head nurse would be faced with this entire tiny little room with 4 people, 4 patients,
And 2 cards.
and 2 cards, and all these grandmothers.
And you know, used to be an announcement. They would say, visiting hours will be over in 10 minutes. And boy, you better get out of that room.
And
that
the
day.
problem then was the nurse would come in and try and tell the 8 or 10 grandmothers in there that there are rules. And I used to laugh because all of them, including my sainted mother, would look and say, no speaky English. All of a sudden, they knew no English.
Didn't understand any English.
And they'd look at me because I start laughing. And I'll never forget when Maria looked at me and said, you say a word, you die. Because I felt like saying, you do speak English. But, you know, again, to the family member that was there, having friends and family,
Absolutely.
Yeah, makes a big difference.
Huge.
you know,
But getting back to the corporators, there are many, many activities and many boards and committees and what's the word I'm looking for? Events that they can participate in. We have a golf committee, we have melange. We like to, each year, the corporators are invited and we urge them to attend our annual corporation meeting. It's usually held at the Doubletree Inn down there in Beaver Street. We have after-hours meetings, business meetings after hours. We have business breakfasts. So there are a whole host of things that corporators can participate in. And we also ask them to support the hospital to the degree that they can financially. That is one of the reasons the foundation board is there, is to take care of that portion of the hospital where donations are funneled through and taken care of. So there are opportunities there. And if you want to be, as a matter of fact, we met with a corporator last week, and he came up with a brand new idea on how he thought corporators could make a contribution. So we're working with that individual now to see if we can kind of guide that activity and that focus it in the right direction. So it isn't a closed list of activities and events that corporators can participate in. We're open to new ideas and suggestions all the time.
but it also isn't a fixed list of 3.2 hours each week,
Right.
you know,
Right.
punching.
It's very flexible.
I mean, think about melange. Could you get a more fun way of contributing
No.
than attending melange?
Right.
You know, the premier event in this area, you know.
In your eyes, no. And in my eyes, no. But some people would rather play golf for a day.
But see, again,
Right.
You know?
if I'm a
Right.
golfer
Yeah.
and I don't like black tie affairs, I'll go golf.
Absolutely.
What a
Absolutely.
horrible, horrible inconvenience if I'm a golfer that I have to say I
I must play golf today.
must play golf
Yeah.
one day a year
Yeah.
to help the hospital.
That's right.
You know, but you know,
Yeah.
if you want to take, I mean, you got the girls. I was so excited. This was the first year that, you know, I started going to melange when Francis and Virginia cornered me.
Okay.
And said, why haven't you been going? And just haven't gone for a while. He says, good, you're coming with us. So we started going together, and we've been going, you know, the 4 of us for a number of years. This year, I took my daughters.
That's right.
So all of a sudden, my daughter's husband and my youngest daughter's significant other, they had to get dressed up. It's a black tie affair. And it was
fun. That's fun, though.
It was fun.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
But that's fun for you. Some other people might say, hey, you couldn't catch me dead doing that. But, hey, I want to help in this other way.
Yeah.
And that's where
and that's
it's
just like
every-
golfing.
Yeah.
I've always said, until they do full contact golf, probably not interested.
Not for you. Not for you.
I mean, I'll play hockey.
Right.
But golf, I just can't figure this thing out.
Yeah.
But again, what a terrible thing I have to do to fulfill my commitment
right.
is take my daughters to a formal affair.
Where it's
Yeah.
just a great time from start to finish.
And,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
sit there and say there's so many events, so many places to participate that you can turn around and say, as a golfer, what a horrible inconvenience that I have to golf today.
But it's a good point. It's very diverse, very diverse. And this individual who approached us a couple of weeks ago, their suggestion was that perhaps we could have a concert. We could either have a symphony concert or some other type of event in the springtime when there's not too much going on. So we're investigating that at this point.
And you would have sympathetic ears from the board at Claflin Hill, I'm sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That if we can raise some money to help the performers there,
Right.
because there's another organization that now is 15 years strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're celebrating our 15th year of a symphony in Milford.
and it's a wonderful symphony.
And again,
That's another example of a huge asset that
Yeah.
a
How many
town
other
of Milford
towns?
of 28,000
Yeah.
people or whatever we
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
to have
Yep.
a symphony like
symphony.
that.
and a
Yeah.
symphony that is of that
Caliber.
level
Absolutely.
of quality. When you think of the Milford Regional Medical Center, yes, it's Milford, we have a soft spot, but when it comes to health care of your family, there ain't no soft spots. They got to earn that right.
Correct, yeah.
So, like you said, when they tie in with the Farber, with the specialists at UMass, I mean, when we talked about brachytherapy, nobody wants to talk about, that kind of cancer and the side effects, but yet you got a specialist from UMass Medical, Peter Oreo, that came down to educate us, on what are the side effects and how he minimizes it and what are the other approaches. How do you go wrong?
Right.
You can't. You can't.
And being a corporator, to me, one of the immediate selfish benefits is that you learn about what is available. How do I
Right.
pick?
Because there's a lot more available than any of us, I think,
Really
even
realize,
sit here
yeah.
right now and
Yeah,
know.
yeah. As I said earlier, it's a learning experience. You learn of all these different things that the hospital offers, different programs with troubled children, and this bullying thing in school now is out of control, and the hospital is there to offer some support in that regard as well. And you just learn things, and I look at that organization and I say to myself, my God, we have got a tremendous body of people there who know what they're doing, and they know what that goal is, and there's nothing that's going to stop that leadership team from meeting that goal. And the more I interface with these people, and the more that I see what they do and what they want to do, it's just phenomenal. It's just a great, great thing. And our building committee that put together that is overseeing the management and the building of the project team up there for the $54 million expansion. I mean, those are volunteers. They're everyday people.
Right.
And the contribution that they make, you can't put a price tag on it.
They're engineers, they're builders in their regular life, and they're
Yeah.
donating their time
Exactly.
to doing this.
Yeah.
One of the other committees that I think is great at the hospital that I became involved with as a corporator is the community benefits, and that's a great committee that's under the foundation office, but that actually draws in the school nurse. It draws in people from all different areas.
But what is that? Let's take that committee. What is a community benefits? If Miss Emily was here, she'd tell us right away. But if somebody was to say, what does that committee do?
I think that committee is the way to interact and to help various organizations in the community. So in the schools, let's say, you talk about TB, okay? TB can be an issue when you have populations from different areas coming in. that maybe, it's been a different, inoculation system. So they come into the Milford schools, they may be coming into 5th grade or 8th grade. How do you check all of that? What do you deal? So you need to educate. So we have our, Dr. Neustadt coming in to try to run clinics. I mean, he on his own time, he'll run clinics to try to make sure people are inoculated against these things.
And I mean, something like that, Laura, I'm always amazed when you hear, well, we're doing this all for these illegal aliens. It's like, excuse me.
We're doing it for the community
We're
in general.
doing it
Do
for
you
the-
have a
Right.
child in school? Yes.
Yeah.
So if a child comes in from an area where TB was not eradicated, where they weren't
And
vaccinated,
your child is in there.
exactly,
Hello?
sitting next to your child,
Hello?
you want to tell me who I'm doing this for?
Exactly.
But even beyond that, we're a community. We're all living in the same area. We all need to help support each other. And I think the Community Benefits Committee does a great job of getting these resources. So they'll go and, we've been trying to reach out to different communities that are involved with the churches, or how do you reach people to educate them? Because a lot of people are afraid of, if they don't have the health insurance. You still need to, exactly to your point, you still need to treat the illnesses because we're all being affected by whatever.
One way or another, yeah.
Well, the other thing,
Directly.
Bobby, is you brought it up. When they move here, they're now us.
That's right.
Right,
Yeah.
wrong, or
Absolutely.
indifferent, when a
Exactly.
child moves into Milford,
We're a community. as
frankly,
Laura
I
said.
don't,
Right.
I mean, I don't want to hear what the state says I have to do. I'm not doing it because they tell me I have
It's
to.
the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do, yeah.
Exactly. They
Yeah,
bleed
yeah.
Milford red.
Right.
Yeah.
They are our kids, our
They're our
families.
community, correct.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
have to take care of them, because God help us, if I need help, then I'm hoping you'll take care of me, or if she needs help, we'll take care of her.
That's what makes a community as opposed to a town.
Exactly, exactly. And the other thing that through the community benefits, the Edward M. Kennedy Center that opened up a year or so ago, that's been a huge help because we had so many people coming to the emergency department, not the ER.
There you go. Jeff will be
I'm
so
a fast
happy. Jeff will be so happy.
who really didn't have a primary doctor. They didn't. So what they actually, Milford was able to help get a grant that paid for somebody to be in that ED, so that after that person was treated, they say, okay, your next appointment is with so-and-so, and they
At the-
connected
yeah,
them
yeah.
through the Kennedy Center, and that's what we need. We don't want to have people using the ED as
The other
the
thing you've
primary.
hit on is when you think about the community benefits group, a lot of new populations. I mean, if you think about it, today we talk about Ecuadorians. Who are the new Brazilians? Who are the new Portuguese? Who are the new Italians? Who are the new Irish?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it's just
Russians, yeah.
everybody's the same.
Right.
Eventually, we'll all wash. But even the Portuguese today, the Mass down at St. Mary's is always 10 minutes longer than the American Mass because they're going to give community announcements in Portuguese. I'm certain that if I went to the Spanish Mass, it would be the same.
It's not the double collection?
Oh, no, it's not. But you think about it, having a group who knows how to reach out into
Right.
different segments. I had no idea we had a large Egyptian Coptic population.
Yes.
I didn't either.
Oh, I just found out because St. Mary's now has a midnight mass because a lot of the people work till 11 o'clock in pizza places.
Really?
And then
They
they go
do.
and celebrate. It's either at midnight or 1 o'clock
Oh, I didn't realize that.
because that fits their schedule.
Sure.
Right.
Well, unless, I mean, I only know because I'm on the board at St. Mary's,
Mm.
the finance board.
Mm-hmm.
I would have no idea that if I wanted to reach that group of Milfordians,
That's what you need to do.
I want to go there at 1:30 in the morning or
Right.
whatever it is and
Sure.
give my message. You know?
Right, right. And there's a lot, it's just also educating, I think the hospital tries to facilitate the education of these different groups of what's around. You know, the First Unitarian Universalist Church on Pine Street, they do a community supper we try to get that's information that people need. If if you're having health issues, you might have problems getting food, so I think the community benefits tries to reach out to the various groups, get everybody all together and share information.
But Laura, think about temple. To somebody who's a little Catholic kid from the Heights is one temple. All the Jewish kids must go to the one temple in Milford. If you didn't know better, Holliston, well, that must be
Right.
for Holliston kids,
Right,
right?
right.
So if you want to get the message out, you have to know where to go,
Exactly.
or else, okay, I think I'm hitting the one Catholic church in Milford. Well, no, there's two. If you don't know that, why would you ever know that, the Italian
No
church?
one can ever live in Milford and not know the St. Mary's and the Sacred Heart.
And the
I
history
learned
behind
that
it.
many years ago.
The
having moved to
history
Milford.
behind it, too.
That's
There's a
right.
history
Pretty
behind
amazing
it.
that
That's
if you ever really did take a string, it's probably 100 yards apart.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
As
pretty
the crow
amazing. But
flies,
again,
yeah.
the corporator, when I think about why, it's information. It's the two people sitting at dinner wondering, what's that big ruckus going on? And
Yeah.
having somebody
Right.
like Laura lean over
That's right.
and say, let me tell you why that's really cool.
Right.
That, you
Right.
just hit the nail on the
Yeah.
head, I think, Al. You knocked it out of the park with that. That's
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
perfect
that's
example.
exactly it.
Because what we try to do is to educate our corporators so they do have
Mm-hmm.
that firsthand information when the opportunity presents itself, so they can bring people up to speed. Because the people at the hospital can't do it. They can't do it all.
Right.
And they need, for want of a better term, people in the trenches that are there every day, the community, the neighbor that says, gee, Bob, what's going on at the hospital? I see all these cranes. Well, here's what's going on. A lot of people don't read the papers. A lot of people don't watch the news. It's just another medium, and it's a necessary medium. And Laura and I are working our tails off to do the very best we can to make it the best corporator council around.
And on that, as always, Milford is a special place. The center of the universe has always amazed me at what we offer. Get to know the medical center. One of the best ways, whether you're old Milfordian, new Milfordian, or anywhere in between, if you're interested in learning, not just to give to the community, but to learn what's available. Hopefully your family will never need the medical center, but the odds are somewhere along the line with a bump, a bruise, or something worse, you will. A great way, and I'll speak from experience, to get to know what's there is become a corporator. Learn what's there, and then you can decide, hey, I'm going to go to I'm a golfer. I'm going to suffer by golfing once a year. Or I'm going to take my family and get to see my daughters dressed up in formal attire. There's a lot of ways to contribute. There's a lot of ways to benefit. Thank God we have the medical center, and it's the quality it is. And my hat's off to the two of you for everything you do.
Thank you for
And to
having
the
us,
army
Al.
of Bob and Laura and Martin, 250 strong, who help out doing so many important things. And one of the most important is just getting the information out. So as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, good night. May God bless. Thank you.
Not too long since I've been home.